Success by Six type initiative. Bank of America has been an incredible partner and financial supporter of that expansion for us. We're right now in active conversations with who's the next Bank of America to pick up the expansion of our work in Success by Six. We're also very focused and already actively working on Head Start reauthorization. The administration's proposals on Head Start, we agree with some, we don't agree with all. And let me be specific about it because you're going to watch us work on it in this regard. We agree that we ought to raise academic standards and objectives in the Head Start programs across the country. We don't agree that it ought to move from the Department of Health and Human Services to the Department of Education. The idea, and we believe the powerful idea of Head Start, is that it is about education, but it's also about families and the support of families. Children who go to school hungry are not going to learn no matter what the standard is academically. Third, housing. Today, 29% of all American families spend at least 30% of their income on housing. 29% spend 30% of their income on housing. When you go to a YMCA or a YWCA and look at their single-room occupancy programs, that's about the threshold they ask a client to pay. We've got 30% of our families in America paying that amount of their income in housing. We'll work actively in efforts around affordable housing efforts. 10 years ago, 14%, and this is fourth, 14% of all Americans didn't have health insurance. Today, 10 years later, 14% of Americans don't have health insurance. 10 years ago, 35 million Americans had no primary health coverage. Today, 41 million Americans don't have primary health coverage. We've made no progress in 10 years. The answer will be complicated, but the fact is we've got to get engaged in the discussion. And finally, fifth, in terms of this national impact agenda that you ought to look for from United Way of America, community preparedness. You know, if we don't learn the lesson after 9/11 about what it takes to be prepared as communities for those kind of events beyond emergency response, because that was an incredible response. But I think we learned a lot in terms of how do I get information about service, financial support, mental health services, daycare services. It is tailor-made for our work. And I'm so proud of what I've already seen local United Ways doing in terms of bringing your communities together to expand and broaden the definition of community preparedness. It is emergency response. It is so much more than that. Right now, we're in active conversation at the senior level with the Red Cross and Salvation Army to come out with a memorandum of understanding that will outline protocol and process between these three organizations in that kind of event in the future. You'll hear about it more in 2003. You know, in the short term, I don't think we should expect that things are going to get any easier. Economically, 03 is going to be a tough year. And you know that going in. The economy's struggling to get back on its feet. And in fact, I think the thing that we ought to try to stay focused on is that it's having an effect on families all across America. The United Way of America State of Caring Index measures 36 different economic and social indicators every year. That index is down for the first time since 1995, driven primarily by health access, housing, and income disparity. 20% of all Americans right now control 83% of the net worth in this country. You know, that's not healthy for rich people, poor people, or middle-income people. And the fact is, it's not going to be resolved in 2 years, but it's something that we're going to have to deal with in terms of the conditions in which people live. The war in the Middle East, the political unrest will bring us uncertainty. 37 of 50 states are running operating deficits right now. The deficit in the state of California is almost $40 billion. So it is going to be a tough year. And the fact is, if there was ever a mandate for us to think differently about our work, now's the time. You know, the decisions that you make will have generational impact, not 2- and 3-year impact, generational impact. The systems that we built, United Way systems, school systems, health systems, child protection systems, were built for a different time. They were built for a time when it was manageable, a manageable number of families and individuals that we could respond to. The fact is, we've got to get creative, we've got to challenge our systems, starting with ours, and we've got to define success differently. We've got to be willing to get involved in public policy, Head Start reauthorization, TANF reauthorization, engaged in things that sometimes don't feel as comfortable as we'd like them to feel. But the fact is, if we don't work at that level, we're not going to make the impact that we need to make. As I go into prepared remarks, I want to talk about community impact. And what is this thing? For me, it's just essentially taking the definition of success from here to here. As important as great programs are, great agencies are, the measure of success for us at United Way is whether kids are graduating, whether fewer kids are on drugs, whether there's more affordable housing, and you measure it at a community level, and you put your resources against it. You can't control it, you can't dictate it, you can't tell a community how to do it, but that has to be our metric of success. That's all community impact is, raising the bar on ourselves in terms of people's lives, the same way that we raise the bar on accountability. And I want to tell you about some of those successes. Success is dropout rates cut in half in Burlington, Vermont. Success is quality health care for the uninsured in Wichita. Success is knocking down youth drug abuse rates below national averages in Santa Cruz, in the same community, by the way, that once had the highest abuse rates in California. Now imagine those stories multiplied over and over and over again. These United Ways and others that have pushed ahead of the pack talk about it like it's a journey. It's a journey that begins with defining impact at a very high level. And once you make the commitment to go, you have to go through the realignment process. You have to create an organization that can really deliver on mission. We can't keep asking, how do we do this? We just have to start doing it. And there's no single model, there's no uniform blueprint. What I can tell you is that there are a core group of attributes that are essential to be a successful community impact United Way. We've seen it in local United Ways. You've heard about them throughout this forum, the 8 essential attributes. I want to spend a good amount of my time this morning talking about these attributes. The vast majority of us seem to be on the same page about mission. We're all talking about it a lot. But not enough of us, in my estimation, are really starting to take the risks necessary to truly realign our organizations. To get on the road to community impact, you need leaders who walk the talk. Leaders who have vision, who have will, and who have commitment to make tough decisions and tough calls. Leadership is critical, and I'm not just talking about the CEO and the United Way and the board chair. Ultimately, every person in the United Way needs to see himself or herself as a champion of community impact. That's the way that Sherry Broch, the CEO in Richmond, talks about the role of leadership. She says you have to be the champion. You have to spend time talking about community impact, connect it to your business plan. You have to reflect it in how you work, how you communicate, how you line up your organization. In the year ahead, we need to see more United Ways making a public commitment to community impact. Put a stake in the ground and take the risk. Tell your community that you're going to identify priorities. Tell them that you're going to establish plans that will lead to real results. And as soon as you know what those issues are and how you're going to tackle them, make sure your organization is aligned to support the work. From the day-to-day operations all the way up to the board level. I want to make another point here about leadership as it relates to all the media scrutiny that we've had to deal with over the past year. And you know, from my perspective, as I thought about this point, I couldn't find the words to write it in a speech, so I just have to say it to you. I'm at a point, a year and a half into this responsibility, that I've grown weary of talking to the New York Times or NBC Nightly News with my message point being, yeah, I know that United Way made a mistake and they're trying to correct their problems, and the vast majority of United Ways are well-run and ethical. That story's done. I can't say that anymore. The fact is, we have to make a commitment, a cultural commitment, that there's zero tolerance for that kind of behavior, illegal or unethical. And I'm telling you, it'll take leadership to eliminate it. It's got to get out of our culture. If the 3 most important elements in real estate are location, location, and location, then the parallel in community impact, in my mind, is focus, focus, and more focus. And that's where the next attribute comes in. Name and